Hello, this is Mrs. Moslick, Geometry Notes 10.8 Plus. We are doing equations of circles and solving for y with a little twist. First of all, go ahead and do the warm-up questions. As you're doing that, pause the video. When you are done, go ahead and unpause. Okay, general equation of a circle is the quantity x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared equals r squared. Your center is h comma k, and the radius is half of the diameter, so the radius will be 8. So we have an x minus a negative 3 squared plus a y minus 5 squared equals 8 squared. So the simplified equation of this specific circle is x plus 3 quantity squared plus y minus 5 quantity squared equals 64. Next problem, we have a circle has this equation, and the first thing you would be required to do in this class is to write down the general equation. Again, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So we know that the radius is r squared equals 4. So r is going to be plus or minus the square root of 4, so r is going to be 2. The distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. And remember that the center is h comma k, so you take the opposite of what's being done inside the parentheses with the x, so positive 2, comma the opposite of what's being done to the y inside the parentheses, so comma negative 5. I want you to pause the video and try number 1, example 1 by yourself. So go ahead and pause this one. Okay, first of all, who had a circle that was in the second quadrant? Meaning that we have this coordinate point 0, negative 4 comma 0 and 0 comma 4. Therefore, the circle is in the second quadrant. Yeah, not all of you guys did. So let's go ahead and come up with this equation of a circle. So general equation, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Well, we can count and note that the radius is 4, and the center is this coordinate point, negative 4, comma 4. So now we have the general equation of the circle, x minus h, so minus a negative 4 quantity squared, plus y minus 4 quantity squared equals 4 squared, which is 16. Who did have that? Excellent. Go ahead and pause the video. Do number 2 by yourself. Okay, who had the circle drawn in the fourth quadrant? Okay, excellent. Many more of you. So we have this point 6 comma 0 and 0 comma negative 6. So our circle is centered over here. So the center point would be over 6 down 6. So the center is 6, negative 6. The radius is also 6. So write down the general equation, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. After doing example 1, wasn't this a lot easier to do? So we have x minus 6 quantity squared plus y minus a negative 6 quantity squared equals 6 squared, which is 36. Okay, and now we're just going to do some algebra in the next 2 problems. So this was the little twist of if they give you coordinate points on 2 tangents. Now remember, a tangent, going back to example 1 and 2, a tangent is a line segment array that hits your circle at just one point. So if you're tangent to an x-axis and a y-axis, you're going to just hit at one point. Okay, down here, number 3, change the equation into y equals form. So we want to solve for y. So we want to subtract x squared from both sides, and we get y squared equals 9 minus x squared. Take the square root of both sides, and remember to show plus or minus. So we have y equals plus or minus the square root of the quantity 9 minus x squared. So just to let you know that this is really cool, because this allows you now to graph a half of a circle. And so like what we're doing here is we are graphing the positive square root, and then we're going to graph the negative square root. So you graph a non-function in a, let's say, a graphing calculator like a TI-84 or a TI Inspire. You can only graph functions. A function passes the vertical line test. This does not. So how would you graph a circle? You graph it in two pieces. The positive square root, so this would be y equals the positive square root of the quantity 9 minus x squared. And then down here is your y equals negative square root of 9 minus x squared. Okay, let's go ahead and solve for y for part B. Subtract x squared from both sides, and then take the square root of both sides. Take plus or minus, so y equals plus or minus the square root of the quantity, 25 minus x squared. These algebra problems can get a little more challenging, so let's go ahead and do for A and then for B. We want to solve for y, so subtract your quantity of x squared from both sides, so 9 minus this quantity, x plus 1 squared. Then take the square root of both sides. Remember to put plus or minus over here. So we have y minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of the quantity 9 minus this quantity x plus 1 squared. And then just add 2 to both sides. So our final answer is y equals 2 plus or minus the square root of the quantity 9 minus the quantity x plus 1 squared. Don't simplify it anymore. Just leave it like this. Just like in problem 3, A and B, don't simplify these anymore. Those are simplified. Part B, solve for y. So we will subtract the quantity of x from both sides. So we have 16 minus this quantity x minus 4 squared. Then take the square root of both sides. Make sure you take plus or minus. So we have y minus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of the quantity 16 minus the quantity x minus 4 squared. And then we're ready to add 5 to both sides. And that's our final answer. Y equals 5 plus or minus the square root of the quantity 16 minus the quantity x minus 4 squared.